Alex Murdaugh is defending himself in his double murder trial. He's continuing to deny that he killed his wife and son, but he does admit to lying, drug addiction, scamming clients, and dealing with extreme paranoia. Today is day 2 for that disgraced attorney as he is cross-examined and hammered with questions about his lies and the last time he saw his wife and child alive.
You, like you've done so many times over the course of your life, had to back up and make a new story that kind of fit with the facts that can't be denied. Isn't that true, sir?
No, sir, that's not true.
Okay. You've done that over and over again over the years with all of this that we've been talking about, haven't you?
I've done what over and over again?
The second that you're confronted with facts that you can't deny, you immediately come up with a new lie.
Well, tension and hostility there as we've been following this wild ride and a pretty riveting 2 days. And our contributors, criminal defense attorney Channa Lloyd and also former homicide prosecutor Bernarda Villalona, have been with us for all the details and the drama since the start of this trial, for sure. Channa, let's start with you as we wait for court to resume now. What has stood out to you so far today?
Well, there's a number of things. How much time Alex is allowed to answer these questions, fill in the blanks for these jurors, and give them alternate explanations. That's first and foremost. Second, I'm actually surprised at how many times he is offered so in-depth explanations for things that I would think are a little bit more surface or should have just been answered directly. I'm curious to see how the jurors are going to take this and see if they see it as he always has an answer for everything, even when it doesn't necessitate one. The other thing that's also stood out to me is he is directly trying to make a correlation between himself being someone who used drugs that allowed him to steal money from others. However, he's being very careful about delineating that from not having committed these murders. And so I'm really surprised the prosecution is allowing him this much leeway to make all of this explanation to the jury.
So, Bernarda, why do you think they're doing that?
Well, it's because the prosecution has lost control of this cross-examination. And you got to also think that Alex Murdaugh is a special witness, not only because he's the defendant, but he's a former trial attorney, a civil litigator. So he knows the game. He knows how to control the courtroom. He knows how he has to come across to this jury. So he also has had a lot of time to think and to prepare for this cross-examination. And he's the one person inside of the courtroom who was actually present for all of the evidence and the testimony that was presented and has access to all the documents and the evidence in this case. And he's being allowed and has tailored his testimony to that evidence that's been presented and to the evidence that he has in his own possession. What really needs to happen is just the prosecution is take control, stop asking open-ended questions. This is a cross-examination, not storytelling time. Get to it.
So then, with that said, Bernarda, do you think that Murdaugh is having an advantage here or a disadvantage?
So he had an advantage, at least yesterday. He had an advantage because there were at least 2 jurors that were crying during his testimony, given that it was during the direct examination. But I don't know how much of that actually still strayed along to the cross-examination. But it's allowed Alex Murdaugh to make himself more of a person, to give more information about his life, about who he is, about who he was. And it's information that wasn't even brought out as much during direct examination. So, for example, the effects of drugs on him and how often he was using drugs and where he got his drugs and how he was hiding these drugs and how it will make him feel and how he felt so hurt hiding this from his family and being found out. That's a lot of information that you didn't get from the direct examination, which you would think it would come out during the direct. So you actually did a service to the defense by bringing that out. My question would be, and I'm curious to know, is the prosecution setting up Alex Murdaugh by asking about all this drug use, by thinking I'm going to call cousin Eddie to come in and testify about not only the drug use, but also him actually selling drugs or being in possession of drugs and transporting drugs? Because $50,000, the math is just not mathing.
Channa, what do you think about that? What do you think Murdaugh is orchestrating here as he is given a lot of time, a lot of leeway to sort of, he's kind of conducting the show in a way?
He absolutely is, Kara. And I think what he's doing is he's actually identifying with the jurors. He's explaining his addiction. He's hopefully garnishing sympathy from the jurors in his mind. He's also giving them a very clear picture that he's admitted to these crimes. He's admitted to the financial crimes. He's admitted to the drug use. However, he's not admitted to the murders. So what he's hoping is that he connects with the jurors enough for them to say, sure, he's guilty of these financial crimes. He's guilty of being an opioid user, a drug user. However, he is not a murderer, and I feel strong in my conviction about that. And that's what we see him laying out. Now, it's a double-edged sword because, as Bernarda pointed out, he is a trial attorney. So it's interesting to see, and I'd be curious to know if jurors are picking up on it. He is very clear when he quotes previous testimony. He's very clear about evidence. However, when it suits him, all of a sudden, he cannot remember. So I'm going to be very curious to see if the jurors are picking up on that inconsistency when it comes to his memory.
I see Bernarda nodding along there. So add to that, Bernarda. And also, too, wouldn't jurors be thinking, wow, he's really going into his drug use and talking about his addiction and his paranoia? That kind of fits the scene here. If he was high as a kite, was paranoid, then it would make sense that he killed 2 people.
Exactly. And that is exactly what Alex Murdaugh is not trying to tip over that line. He wants to let you know that he had that good paranoia, that he controlled that paranoia, that there was no way that his paranoia would have led him to actually kill 2 people, but rather that, he thought that, the cops were going to stop him because he was carrying drugs. I mean, that normal paranoia. That's something that he's being very deliberate and trying to keep away from. In terms of him coaching his own testimony, what stands out a lot is that, and many times, and this is how you can tell he's a trial attorney, he will answer the question and then point out to corroborating testimony from another witness that testified during direct examination for the prosecution itself. And that is something that you never see. Also, he also pointed out, well, remember, we were trying to talk to you, Mr. Griffin. We were trying to get information to you, or you just came up with that story after it was found out about the shirt not having blood or whatever, that's when it became relevant, the importance of these clothes. It was just something that was recent. That's something that never comes out during cross-examination of a defendant, but that's because you don't have a trial attorney as a defendant.
Channa Lloyd, Bernarda Villalona. Ladies, thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.